Yeah. Hi everyone. So just to let everyone know, this is being recorded, so I hope that's okay. So I'm here to talk to you about FS coaching, which I think is the best session today, but that's just because I'm biased. So who am I? So I'm Cath Leather. If you don't know me, I'm four-way obsessed. So want to know anything about four-way, come and find me later. I've been an FS coach since 2017, which I absolutely love. I just think it's the best thing ever. And for the last 2 years, I've been helping other people become coaches as well. And I'm also an IBA tunnel coach. Helping people, coaching people truly is my passion. I absolutely love it. So, who in this room remembers the FS1 jump? Who remembers who was on it and who remembers their coach? Hands up. Everyone, right? How amazing is that? So we've talked before about how everyone remembers their AFF instructor, the static line instructor, because those people, they did a cool thing and they gave you your ticket to go and jump. But what an FS coach does, we do something I think is a little bit cooler. We give you a ticket to go and jump with your friends. And who doesn't want to jump with their friends? But I absolutely love that because all of you remember who was on your FS1 jump. And I just love that your students are going to remember you forever. Okay, so what is coaching? I did a little bit of Googling. So coaching, the term coach was first used in 1830 in Oxford University in connection with a trainer. And it was a slang word when a tutor carried a student through an exam. The word coaching then became identified as a process used to transport people from where they are now to where they want to be. And it was first used in relation to sports in 1861. So it's been around for quite a long time. Now we've had quite a few talks today around instructor ratings. Obviously I'm talking to you about a coach rating, so I just wanted to be clear about what the difference is between a coach and instructor. So as a coach, you should never ever attempt to take on the role of instructor. They're completely two different things. There's different training processes and you've got different responsibilities. Inner instructors, such as AFF instructors, they operate differently on a different criteria to FS coaches, and you always need to remember that. The students that you get, even though they might have just come off their AFF, they might have very low jump numbers, they've got an A licence. They're responsible for themselves, you're not responsible for them. Whereas an AFF instructor, category systems instructor, they're responsible for their student. You need to remember that it's a clear difference. You should never try to change a student's emergency procedures unless you see something that maybe breaks British skydiving rules or something that you're unsure about. If you see something like that, don't try to fix it yourself. That's when you would refer it back to another instructor. And again, you're not responsible for them deploying the canopy. They've got an A licence. Let them get on with it. Obviously, there's a safety element with coaching, which we will come on to. But if there's anything majorly that goes wrong like that, you need to hand it back to an instructor. So, what do you need to do to be a coach? So, British skydiving, at the moment, you need a minimum number of 200 skydives, 2 hours of free fall time, and have been involved in skydiving for a minimum of 2 years. You need to be fully familiar with the British Skydiving FS manuals. You need to be either a category systems basic instructor, have attended a Sports Coach UK course on coaching methods and communication, have a specific teaching or coaching qualification, or have attended a Methods of Instructor lecture given by a British Skydiving Advanced Instructor, which you will be able to get at your home drop zone, or have the Military Methods of Instructor course. Now, these, like we said, on everything that's been discussed today, they're a minimum requirement, but it doesn't mean that you can't start working towards your coach's rating before you hit that level. So before I get into a bit more detail, I wanted to talk to you about why I became a coach. Okay, so when I had 100 jumps, I was really fortunate that British Skydiving sent an FS roadshow to the drop zone I was working at. And this was a picture from that day, so that's me. There's Kate that's organised today. And we went off and we did some four-way. I was so inspired that day, one, by the level of flying that I saw, but two, by the level of coaching. From that day, I was determined. One, I was going to do four-way, and two, I wanted to be a coach. Kate and I became friends from that day, and then I spent the next few years following around like a little shadow, trying to learn as much as I could from her. Like, that day truly changed my course in skydiving, and it was all thanks to British Skydiving. In the time that I've been doing it, I've had a lot of my own coaches put a lot of their time and effort into my coaching skills. I've been really fortunate in who I've had coach me. So I've mentioned Kate Lindsley, who's here today. I've had the likes of John McIver, Joey Jones, and since 2017, Dennis Prate from Hayabusa has been my main coach. Okay, he's a world champion. I'm really fortunate to have spent a lot of time with him. When I started flying with him, I was already an FS coach, but he saw the passion in me and wanting to keep developing. I've spent a lot of time with him, listening to him coach his students, watching what he does. He's spent a lot of time watching me with my students. He debriefs me, he gets me to watch videos. It's been truly amazing. But the good thing about me learning from all these amazing people is I've literally sucked every ounce of knowledge I could out of these people and continue to do so. But what that means now is I can pass that on to you guys. So anyone who wants to be an FS coach that I'm helping, or any of my students, the fabulous thing about it is all that knowledge is now being fed down. The most rewarding thing for me is if I see a student, especially a student that's been stuck on something, they go home happy at the end of the day because I've managed to help them fix something and they're buzzing, or I've given them that ticket to go and jump with a friend. Honestly, it is the best thing ever. So that is why I became a coach. So let's talk about FS coaching itself. So these are some of the things that I've heard people say about FS coaches. So it's a good way to get free jumps. Some ways it is, but if that's the reason you're doing it, don't be coaching anymore, please. It's not the right reason that you should be coaching. It's basic, so anyone can do it. It's just basic flying skills. It's not hard, people say, and it's just giving the arch or the legs out signal, because obviously we know that fixes everything, doesn't it? Okay. So they're things that I've sometimes heard people say. Okay. What I think it actually is, it's actually a lot of work for a free jump. Okay. You spend a lot of time with your students, it can take up a lot of effort. Most of the drop zones don't pay people to FS coach. So yes, you might get a free jump, but you're not getting paid for it. There is the odd drop zone that will pay for coaches. They might pay you so much per jump, or they might pay you a day rate, but usually it's a certain level of coach before they'll start to pay you. So it is a lot of work just to get a free jump. It can be really hard work to stay current. You can't just get an FS rating and think, oh, that's it, my job is done, because techniques change. If you read some of the manuals from years gone by, you'll look and see the position that used to be taught is completely different to what's taught today. Things like that change all the time. Not everyone can do it. You can be a world champion four-way flyer, best skydiver in the world, everyone thinks you're a god, but you can't teach, okay? Doesn't mean you can teach. Just because you can fly doesn't mean you can show somebody how to do it. Teaching basic moves can be really tricky. So yes, we are teaching the basic way to turn. We're teaching the basic way to do four-way and things like that. There's more advanced moves that people can be taught as they go through the skydiving career. However, that sometimes can be really difficult. Sometimes your student doesn't get what you're trying to say, and it's understanding when we need to get help from other coaches and being open enough and not too proud to ask for help. One of the things when I start working with people who are looking to be a coach that I find they find the hardest is giving signals in the air and also seeing what is happening in the air. If you think about a skydive, you know, you're going to get maximum 60 seconds-ish of free fall. It goes like that, especially when you're watching somebody else. And giving the signals in the sky, communicating in air is one of the hardest things you learn to do. And that's one of the things that I really stress to people is something you need to practice, practice, practice. Okay, so what is it not? You're not signing somebody off to be the best skydiver in the world. The ultimate aim of an FS1 is to say that they are safe enough to go and jump with their friends. So yes, we want a decent body position. Yes, we want a decent flying ability, but they don't have to be absolutely amazing. It isn't always about belly. And what I mean by that is, when you did your FS1, you might have already decided then that you want to go and be the best four-way flyer ever. Not everyone wants that. People want a ticket to go off and do free fly with their friends, and you always need to bear that in mind. And like I mentioned, it's not a money-making rating. Most drop zones will not pay for you to do it. although you will usually get a free jump. What's the hard bits? So some of the things that I find is you can end up doing less fun jumps, especially if you're on a small drop zone and there's only 1 or 2 coaches, or you're the only FS coach. You can find a lot of your time is taken up by doing coaching jumps, and then your friends are all off jumping over there and you really want to go and jump them with them, but then you've got these people who are desperate to get their FS1 and want to help them. So it's really important to make sure that you're balancing it out and still doing some jumps for you. It is a lot of work. Like I say, to do a brief with someone, a jump, and then debrief it properly can take a big chunk of time out of your day, and especially if you've got a couple of students, you know, you can be doing this throughout the whole day. I mentioned briefly before, one of the hard things I find people find is knowing when to hand it off to somebody else. Even now I will, and I've been coaching for quite a while, I've done loads of coach jumps. Sometimes I'll be saying something to a student and I can see what's wrong, they're just not getting it. I can then, you know, pass it to Vic or Bex. They might say the same thing as me, but just in a different way, and it clicks with that person. Or, you know, I might take them off and they show them a slightly different way to do it. And it's making sure that you're happy to do that as a coach. Never be too proud to hand it off. Knowing when to hand it off to instructor. So sometimes as an FS coach, we want to be overly helpful to our students, particularly on things like the canopy, because you will watch them do the landing pattern. And yes, you'll be able to talk to them about a basic landing pattern, but sometimes we try to be over helpful. And if you start going into too much detail, you're on dodgy water then. You need to hand it off to a canopy coach and understanding when you need to zip your mouth and pass it on to somebody more qualified. Debriefing is hard as well, and this is something I spend a lot of time working on with people. Yes, sometimes people can do a jump, and like I say, people just think giving an arch signal or legs out is going to fix everything, and it doesn't. And sometimes it's very hard for people to see actually, 1, what is going wrong, and then 2, understand how to explain it to someone. When I did one of my courses that I run at my drop zone of becoming a coach, one of the students, went off and did a brief. I just did a normal jump, but I did a very bad turn, okay? And when he debriefed me, he made me felt about that big, basically told me I needed to start all over again. And all I was thinking was, all I did was one bad turn, but he told me the rest of it was terrible as well. And he made me, honestly, he made me feel that big. And if I was his student in real life, I'd have quit, I just would not have carried on. And it's things like that, it's understanding a bit of like emotional intelligence and who you've got in front of you. Another hard thing can be balancing work jumps. So if you're a camera flyer, for example, on some of the smaller drop zones, some of the FS coaches are tandem instructors, the AFF instructors, the camera flyers. They don't have anyone who's dedicated to FS coaching. And it breaks my heart sometimes when there's people sat there waiting for their FS jump. They've been sat there all day, but actually people are going doing work jumps ahead of that, which is totally understandable because that's how people make a living. But it's understanding and getting the balance right so that it's fair for our students. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about getting more coaches through the system and better coaches so that we don't have our students sat waiting all day just for one jump. Okay, the good bits. So it's so much fun. Some of the best jumps that I have done have been coach jumps. It's just amazing, especially when you do the 4-way jump. It's so rewarding, especially if you've taken somebody all the way through and then we get to the end and you'd be able to say, off you go now, go and jump with your friends. It's amazing. Your student's going to remember you forever, which we mentioned before. You all remember your FS coach. I just think that's so special. You get them to go and jump with their friends so they can go off and do tubes or whatever they want to do. It makes you a better flyer. Some of these people have literally just got the AFF, they've got hardly any jumps. You still don't know what they're going to do in the sky. So actually, it makes you a better flyer because obviously you need to be able to stay with them. So whether it's a big, massive guy or a tiny girl, obviously they're paying for your slot here, so you better make sure that you're in front of them. So it actually makes you a better flyer. And we talked about it briefly before, it is the best preparation for being an instructor. It gets you used to talking through lesson plans, it gets you used to prepping someone, debriefing someone. It's just such a fantastic tool. Okay, now obviously we mentioned there's some safety aspects to it. So basically the main aim of an FS1 pass is You need to give the appropriate skills so that that person can jump with other skydivers safely. Like I said, we're not making them the best skydivers in the world, but you're basically signing them off to say that they can jump safely with others. So that means they can get out of an aircraft safely. They're not going to be smashing into each other, affecting each other's flying. They're going to be altitude aware, which is so important, and they're able to track away from a formation. It's really important to make sure that they understand that the tracking part of it, although you'll work on that in every jump, that even when they're signed off, you want them to work on that for the rest of the skydiving life. Never leave it as, oh yeah, your tracking was great, that's it. Make sure it's clear that they need to carry on progressing with that. Other things to consider. So, booties is one. So sometimes you'll get somebody who already knows when they come to do their FS that they want to be a four-way jumper. They've got a beautiful brand new Simbi suit with booties and everything. They want to go and jump in. Things like that you need to consider as an FS coach. Do we allow somebody to jump that on an FS coach jump? Each DZ might have different opinions. On my DZ, the opinion is we want them to jump with an instructor to try booties out for the first time. A coach to try booties out for the first time rather than go off with the mates and try and jump it. However, we probably wouldn't put it on from jump one. So things like that we need to consider. And again, remembering that we're not an instructor. Okay. So top tips. So once you're a coach, keep current at it. Don't make it something that you do every now and then. With your coach's rating, it has to be re-signed off every year anyway. So if you haven't done enough descents, I think it's currently 5 descents a year, you won't get your rating back for the following year. So you need to make sure you're current on it, and your CI needs to sign you off every year to say they're happy for you to continue coaching. The more you do, the better you're going to be and the more current you will be. Ask for help. So like I said, if you're stuck on something, don't be afraid to get another coach or even an instructor to say, can you look at this video? Can you help me out? Can they even take the student for you? Keep getting coaching yourself. Never get a coach's rating and then never get any coaching yourself again for the rest of your life. Like I said, look what I did. I followed my coaches round like the shadows and I've sucked as much knowledge as I can out of them. Keep learning, because you might listen to someone and they say something and you think, oh, why didn't I think to say it in that way? You might just pick up some gems. Listen to whoever's around you. And this is a key one for me, is never forget what it was like in the early days. Like we said, they might have literally done their AFF last weekend and now they've come to you. Yes, they've got an A licence, but they're still in that headspace of, oh my God, I'm about to jump out of a plane. I'm going to plummet to earth. You know, I need to pull my parachute. They've still got all that going on. So never ever forget that. Be adaptable. So one with your learning styles, everyone learns in different ways. So some people need to be shown something, some people need to be told it. But also think about the student in front of you. So one of the things I quickly learned is, for example, some students might need a good half an hour to kit up. Okay, you need to know that straight away. It's no good getting on a 10-minute call and then try to rush them onto an aircraft because they're going to be all flustered. I had one girl once that was brand new off her AFF and she was really bothered about still doing her practice pulls. Okay, now obviously she's got an A licence, shouldn't need to do a practice pull, but I built that into the jump because if I hadn't let her do that, she'd have just been panicking the whole way down. So it's just about being adaptable to who's in front of you and what they need. Everyone's motivation is different. So you'll get one person who wants to be the next four-way national champion. And then, like I said, you've got somebody else who wants to go off and be a free flyer. So just make sure that you've bear that in mind. Okay, so once you're an FS coach, what's next? Okay, so we mentioned earlier, you can start working towards being an instructor. So category systems, AFF, it's such good preparation for that. You might then want to go into four-way coaching, which is something I love as well. Four-way coaching is a completely different kettle of fish. Obviously, you've got all the formations to learn, blocks to learn, but the good thing about four-way coaching, or the bad thing, depending which way you look at it, you've got 4 personalities to work with, and part of the coach of being a four-way is being able to manage that. Or you might decide you want to go into load organising. Again, being an FS coach is a great way to start on your journeys there. So what do I encourage you to do now? If you're thinking after listening to this, oh, do you know what, I think I might want to be a coach, go and observe some coaches. Just if anything's happening on your drop zone, go and watch them. Read the British Skydiving FS manuals, get to know them, print them off, know them back to front. Watch videos and debrief. So watch videos on YouTube. See if you can see what's going on, see if you would be able to debrief it. And then if they've got other coaches debriefing, go and listen to them. Practice. So go and get your mate to jump out with you, get him to do something and see if you can fix it in the sky and see if you're able to debrief him. Just go and try it, give it a go. Learn how to coach. So there's loads of resources out there. Google, YouTube, just what's the best way to coach? There's a million different coaching qualifications you could go and do if you wanted to go down that route. But anything you can learn about coaching styles, you can adapt to the FS coaching programme. And like I say, get some knowledge. So pick the brains of your own coaches, whoever's around you, just go and find out as much as you can. And then to finish it off, just go and do it. Like I said, I'm really passionate about wanting to get more FS coaches. It is the best, most rewarding thing, or one of the most rewarding things you can do. Please go and do it. And if I've inspired just one person in this room to go and do it, I'll be super happy. So, any questions? No? Perfect. Thank you.